A very good evening from a very cold London. I'm very glad to be here for our first training session. I'm Alberto, and I'm the Secretary General of LIMUN 2026. And tonight with me, we've got two very special guests.
Hi everyone, I'm Tom and I am the USG for Academics at this year's Lyman Conference.
Hi everyone, I am Noor and I am your USG for Delegate Affairs.
And so let's see what we're going to go through tonight. So we're going to go over what's Model United Nations, why should you do it, but also we're going to see what is LIMUN. And then for the actual training, the rules of procedure training, we're going to go over what the actual glossary for it and the timeline of debate, including the various motions and the outcome of debate itself. We're going to finish up with the roles within the committee as well. But let's start off with what is MUN. Nora, I leave you the floor.
Hi everyone. So I'll be starting us off talking a bit about what MUN actually is and why it's such a rewarding experience, not just within university, but far beyond it. So what is MUN? At its core, MUN is a simulation of the real United Nations. So delegates represents countries or organizations and discussing pressing global issues from conflict resolution to climate change to technology and human rights. But unlike a traditional classroom discussion, MUN follows a formal structure and procedure inspired by how real diplomats work, using rules of procedure, formal speeches, and resolutions and negotiations, which we'll cover today. So how is it different from any other debate? This is one of the biggest misconceptions. MUN isn't just about arguing that your side is better, but it's about collaboration and diplomacy. In debate, you win by defeating the opposite side, but in MUN, you succeed by building consensus, working with other delegates, compromising, and finding shared solutions. It is less us versus them and more how can we, as the international community, move forward together. That's what makes it so interesting and reflective of real-world international relations. The international relations and professional aspect of it as well is also what makes it very unique, as it allows you to think like a diplomat and understand your country's foreign policy, its alliances, and how your decisions make an impact on the global level. You learn about negotiation, public speaking, research, and also the importance of professionalism and formality in diplomacy. How to speak persuasively yet respectfully, how to navigate different opinions, and how to represent a country's stance accurately. So why should you do it? So you should do it because the skills you gain are incredibly transferable, no matter what field you go into. You build confidence in public speaking, improve your writing and analytical skills, and learn how to negotiate under pressure. These skills allow you to apply it to law, policy, international development, even business, really any career that involves communication and collaboration. Further, there's a huge community aspect towards MUN, which is probably one of its best parts. You meet people from all over the world and form friendships across cultures and become a part of a student network that cares deeply about global issues. For many of us, MUN has become more than just a hobby, but a space where you grow and find your voice and connect with others who share your curiosity and passion. So whether you're here to improve your public speaking or explore diplomacy or just meet new people, MUN has something here for you. So who knows, maybe this will be a start of a journey that takes you into international conferences, leadership roles, and lifelong friendships. Thank you, and I'll be now passing it on to Alberto to discuss what LIMUN actually is.
Yeah, correct. So thank you, Nora, for that. And let's see what actually LIMUN is. So LIMUN is one of the largest and most prestigious conferences in the entire world. We are led by a team of university students that every year changes and focuses on building and organizing the actual conference that happens every February. You see, the university conference has been established in 1999, making one of the oldest and most prestigious conferences once again in Europe and in the rest of the world. We are part of a charity, the Lyman Foundation charity, which was founded in 2014 and is regulated by a board of trustees, a young professional panel essentially that have served on secretariat and previous boards. At the end of the day, Lyman tends to be and aims to be a platform for debates, public speaking, and in general aims to improve access to diplomacy and international relations field for everyone. But in terms of this year's theme, we've decided to promote shared futures, building diplomatic pathways for unity. And this encourages students and delegates to reflect on how can we come to resolutions which are coming from different backgrounds, from different point of views, and coming together, building a new way forward in this fragmented society. We aim delegates, they'll find their way through different challenges and different diplomatic uncertainties, and we'll be able to agree on a certain point through this fragmented situation. But now let's get into the actual clusters at LIMUN 2026. We will have 7 clusters: the global security, human rights, legal, environmental and sustainability, economic, regional, historical cluster, and crisis. If you're interested in knowing which committees and topics we will be discussing at LIMUN 2026, we encourage you to scan the QR code that will bring you to the website. But there's really pretty much everything, depending on whatever you're interested in. The actual days for the conference, as usual, they'll be divided in 3 days. On Friday, our opening day will be held mostly at Central Hall Westminster. We're going to start off our delegate registrations. And then we're going to have side panels with our partners, for example, the British Association of Former UN Civil Servants, and the opening ceremony, which we'll see as well a guest speaker. We then move to King's College London for our first delegate session, and we close the day with the nightclub. On the second day, we continue our debate sessions still at King's College London, and we're going to have in the evening our LIMUN Ball. And we close off on Sunday with our final 2 delegate sessions, and at the Emmanuel Centre, we're going to have the closing ceremony. But now let's get into the actual rules of procedure training. Tom, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Alberto. So I'll be walking you through some very basic information regarding the rules of procedure, which is essentially the kind of governing information of how MUN alignment actually works. This will be very foundational, so it kind of gives you a flavour of what there is, though in further sessions we'll go into a bit more detail. We will start though with kind of debunking the jargon, so looking at the different terminology you may see within your committee and within MUN. So quite simply, I'll just run through these. So in the future, when you see this, you'll know exactly what it means. So firstly, you may see references to what we call the House. This is essentially all of you within your committee, all the delegates. And alongside that, you may see the term the Dais. Essentially, every committee has a team of 2 or 3 chairs that oversee your debate. Dais is just a word to kind of encompass all of them. What we're looking at here, the rules of procedure, just for ease, we normally shorten that to ROP. And similar with draft resolutions and working papers, they are just the written documents we use within MUN. And of course, we'll give further training on how to create those. But as you see there, once again, just for ease, we shorten those to DR and WP. And then the last kind of very important jargon to understand is the 2 kind of core ideas of voting, one being substantive and one being procedural. The key difference is that in substantive voting, you can abstain. You can essentially choose not to vote. While in procedural votes, you cannot do this. Though don't worry, we don't expect you right now to know which will be which. We will go into further detail on that, and your chairs would as well within any debate. And just a little note at the bottom, there are going to be some committees that don't quite work like this, but please do not worry about that. This will be fully explained to you kind of in advance if this applied to your committee. But next, we're going to focus on the kind of timeline of debate, what you can kind of expect as you walk into the room. So firstly, you'll start with what we call roll call. This essentially is you choosing what type of voting you have. We call that either present or present voting. But to simplify that a bit, it's essentially whether or not you can abstain at the end and kind of say how much your country cares about the position. And with that, you'll of course open the debate as well and set the agenda, which is just another way of saying you'll set the topic for the committee, as some have 2 options. You'll move on to then what we call the general speakers list and caucuses. I'll go into that in a minute with a bit more detail. And as I've explained, working papers and draft resolutions, those kind of written documents, will give a full tutorial on how to write those kind of closer to the conference once you've all been allocated. And obviously, the final aim is to have a resolution you can pass, just like the normal United Nations, which will also go on into a bit more detail in a few moments. But next, we will start by focusing on the general speakers list. To put it simply, this is the backbone of debate. In some committees, it's what you will hear most over the weekend, and it's where you start in all new committees. There is a set speaking time for this. Normally, it's 90 seconds, but you as delegates can change that if you want to. Essentially, it is your chance to talk about whatever area of the topic you want. And just a quick point, that GSL that we call the general speakers list, there always has to be someone ready to speak in there. Otherwise, technically, debate closes. Though to be completely honest, I've never seen that happen. And so, yeah, if you, as a delegate, you can be involved with this general speakers list. You can raise your placard when your dais ask for it. You can't be on there twice, but normally it's replenished fairly quickly. And so, yeah, the dais will make sure to give everyone a fair chance to speak. And just a quick note at the bottom there, the right to speak. It's what makes MUN so productive compared to other debating forms is there is a set order. There is kind of what we call decorum within the room. You don't kind of speak over each other. It's a very kind of civilized way of debating in that sense. But moving on now to some of the more common motions that you will see within the debate. And obviously, this is only kind of a taste of the different motions you can use, but these are the ones you'll see most often. So starting with the moderated caucuses, this is very structured. It will have a set topic, it will have a set overall time, and just like the GSL, it will have a set individual time for you to speak as well. So quite simply, you as delegates, you go one after the other, recognized by the dais, speaking on this topic, and yeah, just carries on until the time elapses. It's fairly simple to use, and you'll see that quite a lot over the weekend. Unmoderated caucuses, this is a much more unstructured form of your debate. There is no kind of individual speaking time to this. That you'll have a set time for it, let's say 20 minutes, and you just get to go around the room, speak to fellow delegates, and just figure out kind of who agrees with you, who disagrees with you, and obviously later in the weekend start on writing resolutions as well. And then finally, on the kind of the third most common motion you'll see is the consultation of the whole. This is very much a middle ground between the two. It has an overall set time, but once again, no individual time. It essentially just hands the power over to you as delegate. So one delegate will start speaking on this, on whichever area of the topic they wish, and they speak for however long they want, and they choose who speaks next, and so on and so forth, simply until the time elapses, rather than making the chairs choose. So it gives a bit more power to you as delegates. And all of those three, I can guarantee you'll see multiple times over any conference weekend. Moving on from that, though, so obviously you've got those motions. You'll have discussed very nuanced debate over the 3 days of the conference, but eventually you want to have something to show for it. We call that a draft resolution. This is essentially just a document that shows all your core proposals on how to solve an issue. For example, in the UNSC, there may be a dispatching of peacekeepers or some form of security force or equivalents in other committees. Obviously, the drafting of that will give you a lot of training on how to do that. But those resolutions then always voted on at the end of the committee. And yeah, sometimes they pass, sometimes they fail. There is no kind of predictability to that either way. And it's what makes it so engaging. You really do have to work kind of to get your resolution passed. Though it is one of the most fun things when your resolution does pass at the end, it does feel quite good. And just before I hand back to Noor, just the final point we'll look at is the different roles within the committee. So essentially, who's going to be in the room with you? So firstly, the delegates. That's you. It is the probably 30 plus different ones of you in the room representing the different nations. You will be the ones debating the topic. You will draft resolutions. Essentially, the weekend is whatever you make it. You'll also have your chairs as well. As we discussed, there's normally about two or three of them within the room. They're there to essentially just oversee proceedings, kind of direct the flow of debate. They will also prepare what we call study guides for you in advance of the conference. Those are essentially documents which show the key research on the topic and the key disagreements to essentially aid your research, and they're normally released in about mid-January to help you prepare. But as well as that, chairs are also someone you can go to for advice and any concerns you have. They're essentially just there to support you throughout the conference. The last two, so first we've got faculty advisors. Some of our delegations, which are kind of larger groups that attend the conference, normally bring faculty advisors. These are sometimes university staff they bring, or sometimes they're even just students there to support each other. They essentially are there to support their delegates. You'll normally see them kind of watching the committee, observing everything, but they cannot participate. But if you do have a faculty advisor, they are, of course, someone you can also go to with concerns you have. And then finally, you have the secretariat, which is us three and the other eight on the secretariat as well. We're not always in the room, but we are the organising team for the conference. We directly oversee your chairs and all the other staff. If you do have any concerns you're not comfortable raising with your chairs, we are always on hand to support you. And anything kind of that needs addressing, we will do so. But with that, I'll pass back to Noor to discuss our delegate applications.
Yes, thank you, Tom. So we have officially opened our delegate applications. And so you can find this on our website or by scanning the QR code on the screen. The process is very straightforward and we have it detailed on the website. And in addition to that, there's an application guideline that's located, again, on the website that will help you fill out the form in the application process. And of course, our emails are always open for any questions that you may have. And for those who also require a visa letter, we do recommend submitting your application as soon as possible in order for you to receive that to guarantee you're coming to the conference.
Well, that's all from us. Thank you for joining us tonight. We're going to have two other delegate training sessions. The next two will be reserved for delegates, registered delegates to LIMUN 2026. We're going to go over more details, rules of procedure, and the actual documents you need to prepare, and you will be preparing during the conference itself. If you wish to attend these next two sections, the only way to do so is by registering to LIMUN 2026 via the QR code or our website. And again, if you have any questions, our email is always open, is inquiries@limun.org.uk, including any questions you might have about the materials of today. We hope to see you soon and enjoy your rest of your evening. See you soon. Thank you.